Hey everybody, Todd here. Welcome back to askdrtk, and I hope you're having a great week. Today I'm going to take a look at a new compression plugin. It's the NEOLD U2A from Plugin Alliance. So let's check it out. So when I read the name right away, U2A, I'm thinking, okay, another LA2A style plugin. I wonder what it's modeled after and how it sounds. But when I took a closer look, this has a few different controls on it. It has an aging control, if you will, and this allows us to dial in the relative age of the internal components. Depending on what unit a plugin is modeled after, how old it is, how many hours it has on it, what kind of maintenance and repair has been done, the sound can be very different. This gives us an opportunity, apparently, to adjust that to the sound overall so we can model it after an older unit or after a newer unit. So I wonder if that's really the case or if it's just decoration. We're going to find out. The other thing is it has a drive control, which allows us to add saturation. Because of course the LA2A is a tube-based compressor, and so depending on the tube that's in there and the age, it's going to have some variation in the sound as well. But what's interesting with the drive control here is it also goes to a clean mode. And when I think clean LA compression, I'm thinking more LA3A, something with a solid state circuit instead of tube. So we're going to compare it to a Golden Age Comp 3A LA3A clone and see just how close that clean mode is to LA3A style compression. Basic controls in terms of gain and peak reduction, that's as we would find really on any LA2A or 3A style compressor. So exactly what I expect there. The same thing with compress and limit. We get compression which sits around 3-to-1, limit around 10-to-1. But again, this is variable with program material as with all LA series style compressors. Now, some other things that are a little bit unique here. First of all, there's a mix control, which is nice to have on a plugin. Really, any modern day plugin should include this, in my opinion, because it makes it so much easier to just get a little bit of parallel if you want to bring some of the original signal back in and maybe push the plugin a little bit harder and then tame it down. The recovery and the aging control both affect the simulated OPTO cell inside in terms of how it's able to react and how quickly the light comes off and on. So it really gives you the opportunity to dial this in if you're trying to get sort of match up to something a little more of an older sound that you'd like to get versus a newer unit. Even if you look at a new reissue Tellsonic LA2A, it doesn't sound the same as a vintage unit, and that's because the components age inside. Now the other thing that we get here that's nice is this drive, and really the LA2A of course is a tube-based unit, and so we're going to get some saturation from those tubes. The default setting here is meant to, I guess, simulate what the unit that they modeled was. But as we'll see coming up in the audio comparisons to hardware, we can adjust this and get quite a bit of difference there. So we get some of the simplicity of the LA design, but we get some pretty nice enhancements. Let's do some audio tests. Now, as I said when I went through the controls, the real versatility here on the U2A plugin is in the drive control as well as in the aging controls. And I've also loaded up here a WA2A, so that's an LA2A clone in hardware, as well as a Golden Age Comp 3A, which is an LA3A clone in hardware. The difference being the LA2A is a tube-based unit versus the LA3A is solid state, so it should be a little bit cleaner. Now the control, of course, on the U2A plugin allows us to go anywhere from what they call clean all the way through dirty. I'm going to leave it set here at the basic settings, so in other words, where we started out to begin with. And then we'll make some changes as we're doing a comparison here. So I've got the vocal track loaded up, and we'll listen to some vocals on the different types of compression.
When you walked in the door, I could have sworn I've seen your face before. So glad that you said hi, 'cause I was way too shy. What would have happened if you just had passed me by that night? We keep on drinking, keep on wishing for someone out there to hope. Well, maybe it was fate. When you walked in the door, I could have sworn I've seen your face before. So glad that you said hi, 'cause I was way too shy. What would have happened if you just had passed?
Okay, and so to my ears, the WA2A hardware really cuts a lot off of the high end. It gives you a lot kind of rounder, smoother top end versus the other two. The LA3A tended to be more in the, bright. It tended to bring those sort of top end out a little bit more, again, to my ears. So that's the Comp 3A. Now, as far as the U2A, it was sort of in between to my ears with these settings. So what I'm going to do is see if I can match it up a little bit to the warm audio unit, see if we can get that sort of sound. And I think to do that, what I need is a little bit more of the tube saturation here. I'm going to bump it up to around 45%. And we'll just compare back and forth between the plug-in and the WA2A.
Keep on wishing for someone out there to hope. Well, maybe it was fate when you walked in the door. I could have sworn I've seen your face before.
Okay, and so we can get a little bit closer in that. I still find that the warm audio unit tends to round things off a little more. I'm not saying that's the way an LA2A should be. I'm just saying the difference between these two units. But it's interesting to be able to make those adjustments. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set the U2A up as clean, and we'll do a comparison directly against the Comp 3A.
Pass me by the night we keep on drinking. Keep on wishing for someone out there to hope. Well, maybe it was fate when you walked in the door. I could have sworn I've seen your face before.
Okay, and so to my ears, while not exact, very comparable. I mean, you certainly could use one or the other here. And again, this is the whole versatility on this plugin. And we'll do the same comparison on bass here. Again, I've level matched the hardware and plugin as much as possible, and I've evened out the compression again as much as I can. And I'm hearing much of the same thing. I think the W2A is a little more round in those upper tones. And the U2A kind of splits the difference between the two in terms of saturation at stock settings. I think, again, if I push the drive here up on the U2A up closer to about 45, I think I'm going to get more like what the saturation on the WA2A is. Not to say that it'll round it off, because I wasn't able to do that with vocal. But let's hear it on bass. And difference is less noticeable here simply because it's bass, so we don't have as many of those high frequencies to be rounded off by the warm audio unit. I'm going to go ahead and I'll just drop the drive on the U2A plugin all the way down to clean, and I'll just do a quick comparison with the Comp 3A. And again, a plug-in very usable. If I needed the 3A sound somewhere, I could drop this down here to clean and absolutely use it in that application too. And finally, let's check this out on the whole drum set. And yeah, you can hear the warm rounding things off a little bit more in terms, especially on the kick, but also a little bit on the snare there as well. Hopefully that translated decently over YouTube. And let's just see here if I make a little bit of changes here. I'm going to change the speed up the recovery, or slow down the recovery a little bit here on the U2A, and also increase the saturation and compare again. And with those settings, we're a little more in the ballpark. So that's a little bit similar to the warm there. Got a little closer anyways. Never going to get exact. That's not the point. And just on the clean setting again for the U3A. And those are actually pretty close on the clean setting. Again, nothing's going to be exact here, but hope this gives you an idea anyways, the U2A versus hardware. So after the audio test, here's my takeaway. The U2A plugin definitely performs like an LA3A style compressor in terms of the way it reacts to program material. I'm seeing that right away. It certainly was different from my Warm Audio WA2A. That compressor is known to be a little rounder on the top end to take some of those higher frequencies off. So again, I'm not really surprised to see that there's some variance there. But in terms of the approach to the compression, the way it reacted, very similar. I was really impressed actually with the ability to control the drive. You certainly get a lot of variance in terms of the saturation you bring forward. And the clean mode is very clean, bordering again on a 3A style compressor. I think it lined up pretty nice with the Comp 3A. So again, if you wanted something versatile that you can use for both of those styles of compression, I think the name does it a little bit of injustice here. It's kind of a U2A, U3A combination, whatever you want to call it. So something to consider there. The agent control also makes a difference. You can hear it in there, but you can mainly see it in the way it reacts to the program material. So I didn't notice a drastic difference unless I really pushed it to one extreme or the other. So there's a lot of granular control in there for fine tweaking. So it's not just for decoration, it actually does something with the controls. Overall, I'd say this plugin is very well made. I could certainly see using this and having that adaptability depending on, whether you want to use it on vocals, you want to use it on bass, you want to use it on drums. Certainly there's going to be a lot of options here. So I would say if you're looking for a plugin that's going to kind of do the job for compression, optical compression for you, this could be a good one to go with. It's not inexpensive here at launch. It's about $100 roughly US funds. As always, most plugins tend to come down in price over time, so keep an eye out for that. And through Plugin Alliance, if you're a member, of course, on their subscription plan, you're going to get this automatically. So I hope this translated well over YouTube for you. You found it interesting. As always, if you're interested in more plugins, hardware, other ways to upgrade your studio, check out one of the videos below. I really appreciate you joining me, and I'll see you next time.